Good evening and welcome back. For those of you listening, you know who I am. And those listening for the first time, my name is Stephen LeBlanc Sr. from Everyday Man of God Ministries. If you follow me on YouTube, and which we are on YouTube currently, and we're on Rumble, and we're on Spotify, so I guess I just stumbled over my words a little bit there. But I am thankful and grateful for you taking the time to listen to me on this Saturday night. But I will above all be more thankful and grateful to God for the opportunity to be here and open my big mouth while there are too many people who will not speak. Tonight I will be talking about time clock Christians and perhaps other things, you never know. And except for my regular listeners, you already know that I may drift off to other topics once in a while. It happens. It's been known to happen. I try not to let it happen, but, you never know. Things pop into your head as you go along. So get your visual imagination ready. But I promise, for some of you, it won't be hard to imagine tonight's topic because it may still be you. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. The alarm goes off. You hit the snooze button for another 15 minutes, but suddenly, somehow, it's 6:30. What happened? Who cares? You jump out of bed, and now you're in panic mode. You're behind schedule. Again. So you hurry up, you get dressed, you eat on the fly, if you eat at all, and now you fly to work. But wait a minute. You can't find your keys. They're not where you put them. Or they are where you put them, but you forgot you put them there. Okay, you found them now. You can run out the door. Well, guess what? Good news. You caught a break this morning. Most lights were green. And that never happens. You make it to work, but barely. You get to the time clock, you punch in or clock in, depending on your setup, and it's only Monday. You have most likely 4 more days. Each day is the same, and the routine never does change, and the time clock waits for you every day, and each day you do your time. But that's your work life, not your church life. Surely your church life is much different and better. Well, let's take a look at that. Or we can pause while I drink my water, because we don't edit here at this ministry. It's 8:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. You already hit the snooze button at 8 o'clock. You're exhausted because you stayed up later than usual to watch a movie or spend time with your husband or wife. But now you're up. And what do you know? You're in a rush. But this time, it's not just you that has to get ready for the day. Now you're in a rush to get everyone ready for church. This will go extremely well. No, it won't. Let's just be honest. Okay, let's get the kids ready. Which will undoubtedly come with yelling, brush your teeth. Then there is breakfast. Wait. I know what you're saying, right? Shouldn't you brush your teeth after breakfast? Nope. Saves time. Don't argue with me. Argue with my mother when I was a kid. So now you're eating breakfast, or what is supposed to be breakfast, or what appears to be breakfast. Some alternative to breakfast. Not sure, it's a granola bar. It's a cereal bar. Maybe you did have eggs, I don't know. But it's something. My house, it was something weird when I was a kid. It was just, I don't even remember what we ate. It was just all kind of weird things. Now the wife is getting annoyed by the husband who can't find his good belt. Because you got to have a good belt. That's important. Now the kids are fooling around, not getting dressed. By getting dressed, I mean getting dressed up. Because the traditions of men, by men, dictate that we wear our finest clothing to the temple. I'm sorry, I mean church building. Wait, I mean church. Sorry. Went a little off there. Just kidding. There's a slight problem. No one is happy about the new dress shoes from the clearance rack. If you're anything like my family, clearance rack was pretty popular. I don't mean my current family, my wife and children. I mean when I was growing up, the clearance rack was very important. Up in my area, it was a Kmart. I don't know about your area, but it was popular in my area. Blue Light Special, couldn't beat that. That was quite the deal. And those shoes were ever so painful because they never seemed to fit right. Now the husband and kids are finally ready. But there is one more obstacle to overcome. The wife. Now I'm not saying that she's an obstacle in a bad way or a negative way. Why is this an issue? Because she has to finish getting ready. She has to put on her face. Not sure where it was before. But anyhow, the husband is complaining. The kids are complaining. Because now they are in the vehicle waiting. And the most important people, no, I'm sorry, not most important people, they are important. The most impatient people in the world are husbands and kids. Speaking as a husband and former kid, this is true. The kids just want to hurry up. They just want to get going. They need to hurry up for the not so biblical Sunday school to see their Sunday friends. The husband wants to be on time so they won't be late because it looks bad. Not to God, but to the self-righteous folks at church. Because if you don't get there on time and hit the spiritual time clock, that will not look good. Because you know someone will gossip. And then you become that family. The one who can't make it to church on time. But the funny thing is, Dollars to Donuts, they went through the same thing this morning. They just beat you by 5 minutes. I ask you at this point as I speak, does it sound familiar yet? Maybe you're a new Christian and you're like, wait, this happens? And if you're an older Christian and you grew up in the church system, you're like, oh yeah, this happens. It happens. And depending on where you go, even the so-called pastor will side-eye you. Like you're disrespectful for not getting there on time. Which doesn't seem to be difficult for him. Because after all, he gets paid to be there. Not sure that's biblical either. So you finally take a seat. You're situated. Now settle in. Because you're going to hear another sermon on tithing. It may not be directly tied to tithing, but it will be weaved. Oh, believe me, it will be weaved in there. Like, I don't know, giving generously. The church runs on the monetary love of the congregation, or the importance of being faithful and showing up as often as you can, if not all the time. And remember, we are called to give generously so the temple stays open. I mean, church building. I say temple, I meant to say church building. Isn't that interesting? So far, have you heard these? These are a couple of the sermons you'll hear over and over again. I mean, you may not learn about the greatness of King David or his sins. You may never learn the genealogy of Jesus, but you will learn to tithe and be blessed by him. You may not learn how to deal with the brethren when they trespass against you, biblically, but you will learn to judge unrighteously and unbiblically those who don't follow tradition. And depending on what church building you go to, there may be an afternoon lecture or an evening service, which, here we go again, like the morning service, there will be another mad dash to get ready, to hurry up, eat supper, brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, pile everyone back into the vehicle. Remember, get there on time, so as to avoid all, if any, judging looks. It can be exhausting, couldn't it? Or couldn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like it's exhausting to be a Christian? Exhaustion as all can be. But this happens. Well, Stephen, you're not talking about my church. We would never do that. Okay, if you think so. Let's be honest. You see, just because you may not notice it, it doesn't mean it's not happening. I will guarantee you, anyone right now, there is a 90% chance this is your church or your experience. Remember, experience matters. Okay. All right, time clock Christians. All right, ready for this? Sundays are over. Whew. Sundays are done. But before you take a breath, don't forget, Wednesday's coming. And you will have to punch the time clock again. A little less stressful, but you will be in a rush again for Bible study. Or in some churches, a sermon, which makes no sense to me. Mostly co-ed. Not sure that's biblical. Well, it's not. You know, usurp authority. Oh, anybody remembers that? But anyways. Well, you did it. You made it through another Wednesday. You endured another sermon. Not a Bible study. Okay, some are Bible studies. They can't keep that consistent. It was full of fluff. I know. You've heard 1,000 times. Having no impact on your life. Even though it should. But it doesn't. Because there's nothing about practical living in these sermons. It's a shame. And you ask yourself, how did I get here? Why is going to church so difficult? I love God. And I know I'm saved. And where did the fire go? When did it go out? So you think a little harder. And something dawns on you. Why am I happier and closer to God when I'm not here? I mean, here being the church building. Why does it seem like a chore, a duty, a job? And you look harder. and realize you're just doing time or biding time. You're just clocking in twice a week with disinterested traditionalists bogged down in tradition. And some, they're bogged down in both tradition and magistry. You look around and realize everyone has gotten messed up along the way. And I'm not talking about alcoholism and drugs. Their idols became certain days, certain times, and certain buildings. Sunday, Wednesday, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., Sunday morning, 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 6:30 p.m. is not a morning, it's an evening. And 7 p.m. Wednesday nights. Now, of course, these times can vary. I know certain buildings are different, can be off maybe by half an hour, but not by much. Not by much. It's standard pretty much everywhere you go. Whether you're a Baptist, a Pentecostal, Episcopalian, or whatever you want to throw in there, all have the same basic days. I won't even get into the Friday teen nights. I'm sure some places still have those, probably more of your larger mega church style places. Everyone has been punching the same time clock, working at being a good Christian. Sounds to me like that would be work salvation. And what does Ephesians chapter 2 verse 8 say? For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. And in Ephesians chapter 2 verse 9, not of works, lest any man should boast. You can't do all these good works going on Sunday, Wednesday, Friday teen night, Sunday evenings. Maybe there's some bake-off somewhere. There comes a time when you have to realize that your attendance to any particular building will in no way punch some ticket to get into the kingdom. Much like the world today with its indoctrinations, brainwashing, traditions, the churches have done the same thing. Evil has crept in unaware. It only starts with one tiny compromise until the landslide comes. In Titus chapter 1 verse 14 it says, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. How many times do you see New Testament churches talk about Jewish traditions? And not to talk about them in a historical sense, in a way that makes you feel like you have to live that way. People try, people fail. We're not to live in most of those ways, in those fables. We're not to follow the commandments of men. Oh, but Peter, Paul, knock it off. So you're sitting there realizing one day, none of this makes sense. Why am I buying in? Why am I buying certain clothes, certain shoes, certain dresses, and so forth? And ties. And you ask yourself, why am I rushing to worship God? when it feels like no one in the building seems to be worshiping with their heart. They are going through the motions in a structure that men made, singing songs only the musical director and pastor know, and you realize you are not the only one who is just checking in, putting in your time, punching the time clock. We have been convinced, brainwashed, indoctrinated, not by the truth of the Bible, but by the truth men have set down from the Roman Catholics, or should I say the Roman Catholic, Roman Republic, Roman Empire of pagans. It has infiltrated the majority of these New Age churches, not New Testament, but New Age, which masquerade as New Testament when in fact they are not. Many have walked away from these church buildings because of these traditions. Stephen, why are you so anti-traditions? Why are you so anti-Bible? My friend, the problem with traditionalists is they are anti-Bible. Because they create things that were never there. Or they mix things together that should never be mixed. There are so many people, and the majority of them, who go to church doing what I said earlier, going through the motions. You get there a certain time, it lasts for a certain amount of time. Your conversations are almost exactly the same each time you go there. Now, I'm not saying it's always that way, and there's no other place that exists that it can be the way it's supposed to be. But they're far and few between. I tell you, they're rare. They're rare. We have to stop going to these mindsets that we have to worship in a certain way that's been dictated by men. And I'll throw in Jezebels who whisper into the ears of those men. When going to church is like going to your job, we've got a problem. It's time to reevaluate the church you're going to, if you're going to church at all, or your approach. And yes, I believe there is an in-between of something I've talked about before, the pro-church building people and the anti-church building people. Some are afraid not to follow traditions, and some are afraid to follow every tradition. Some are afraid of these things, so they're anti-fellowship. And those other ones who say fellowship with everybody, even if you're unequally yoked, and you're not supposed to do that either. If man could stop going by his flesh and go more by the Bible, we'd be in a much better position, wouldn't we? Perhaps I've been a little harsh. Oh, what about you, Stephen? You're so perfect. No, I'm not. I'm just as dumb as a lot of folks out there. Yeah, I just said dumb. I followed these same traditions for years. I grew up in the church system. Most of you who follow me know that. And I fell away. Got mixed up. Most of it in spite and hate of the church buildings and what they were doing to people. And as I'm older, I realize Both sides have got it wrong. And I keep saying that, and you've heard me say that multiple times. Steve, when are you going to talk about those both sides things? Oh, that's coming. That's coming. So I implore you tonight. Implore? Yeah, that's a word. I implore you tonight to stop being a time clock Christian. Stop going to church. Stop going to worship. Stop going to fellowship. Stop going to gatherings. Stop going to meetings as if you're punching a time clock. You are not going to work. You go to work, you punch your time clock, you get in, you get out. That should not be the case as a Christian. You should not be, your fellowship with others and your worship to God should not be felt like a duty. It should not be, I'm going to check in and check out real quick. I'm going to just do my time and go home. That's not how it works. To everybody who's either pro-Babel building or anti-Babel building, both sides are guilty. As well as I have been. Stop being a time clock Christian. You already said that, Stephen. Good, I'll say it again. Do not be a time clock tradition. Stop getting mixed up in that. Do not get into that vortex. Do not start being anti-people because other people are anti-people. They tell you to be anti. Just follow the word of God, not by what I say or anybody else who thinks they're a pastor, minister, preacher. I don't care who they are. The Word of God is all that should matter. And I am thankful that you listen to me. Well, we shouldn't listen to you. That's up to you. If you can't go somewhere or be with folks and worship the Word of God, if you can't sing songs with love, not pretend love, not because you feel like you have to, and it's, well, this is what I got to do this night, and we'll just do the system and the structure, and we're going to organize this at 6 o'clock, and then we're going to do the, oh my goodness. And I'm going to say it for the last time. And I do love everyone who listens to this. And I love people. I want everyone to be saved. People think I hate everybody because I'm mean or something like that. I don't hate everyone. Not at all. And I know this is mostly for the time clock Christians, and I'm talking to folks who have had some issues, and I'm telling you not to be a time clock Christian. And those of you who walked away that might be listening to this, I understand why you walked away. I get it. You are sick and tired of the system. Well, you're right. But you can't walk away from everything. There still is a structure. Okay? You still have a structure in this Bible. It's not quite the structure that you find in church buildings, but there's still a structure. And we're going to go into that down the road too. I got some stuff on the burner, back burner, however we want to look at it. Now, I guess I'll get a little personal. I work for a living. Okay? I try to preach when I can here. I try to get here on Saturday night, but I work for a living. And I get here on Wednesday, but guess what? I work for a living. And anyone who's out there who's not working for a living and call themselves a preacher, you should be ashamed of yourself. I don't care who that goes out to. I don't care how many subscribers I lose. Not that I'm trying to be disrespectful. But a man works for his food. And I'm not talking about missionaries or people going out there and who are actually on the road with no kids. They're just out there and they're going town to town. Man, I'd love to see more of that stuff. That'd be great. I would give to that guy in a heartbeat. Oh, by the way, notice how I said guy. Keep that in mind. I work for a living. I get up every morning and I go to work. And I commend every man that is on here who does go to work for a living. By the way, I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you flip burgers. You work for a living. And you're more of a man than any man who calls himself a man who sits on his butt every day and does nothing. But I prepare sermons. Get out of here. I'm sorry, that's been bothering me because I've been seeing a lot of that out there these days. A lot of it. In the church building and outside the church building. A pastor, a preacher should not get paid to do his job. You want to donate to their ministry? That's fine. But that money that you're donating to them, it should definitely be being used for outreach, for more Bibles in every mailbox along the way, more gospel tracts. Not to pay their electric bill. You can't pay electric bill? Get a job. Still having trouble? Get another job. I know we all go through some struggles and we have some issues and we have to bounce back from things, and that I get that. Remember when I said in the beginning of this podcast, sometimes I get a little off topic? Well, there you go. That would be a perfect example of me getting a little off topic. It happens. It happens. So I'm going to stop myself now, and I appreciate everyone who listens. Good comments and bad comments. It is what it is. I'm okay with it. God bless, and have a beautiful evening.